The opinions and views expressed in the following program are those of the speakers and the host, and do not necessarily reflect those of Yoakley Scott Corporation and your sports network.
Yeah, I've been closer to Jesus before, so can you help me out? Oh, can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? But can you help me out? Am I on my own? Am I on my own? Or can you help me out? Can you help me out? I've been scared to look in my soul. I've been afraid I would follow the road. Yeah, afraid of the things I've been told.
And hello, everybody. Welcome inside a wonderful Monday episode of Running Point on ysnlive.com. Brought to you, as always, by our good friends. Going to put them in the top right-hand corner of the screen, Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. Hold on. They go the extra mile for you. We try to do the same here on this show every single day, and Greenwood Chevrolet is a big reason why we're able to do that. If you are in the market for a newer used vehicle, make sure to go down to Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown, check them out, and they'll take care of you in a great way. So we have a great show for you today on tap. It is the start of a segment that will run through the rest of the summer called Living the Dream. It's a softball segment. We're going to be talking to players that have kind of reached the pinnacle of what they want to be as a softball player, professional softball players, players that had really great college careers, et cetera, et cetera. We're going to have them on. So the softball players in our area that are trying to get there, trying to live the dream, trying to accomplish their dreams, have people they can hear from and take notes from and say, this is what they did on their journey. This is how they accomplished what they wanted to do. And really, I think it'll be what's the word? It'll benefit a lot of the young softball players in the YSN family that are striving to get to their goals. Nothing better than hearing from the people that have been there, right? So we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to talk to a lot of great softball players that have done a lot of great things. And today is going to start with Kelly Torres from Duke softball alum. She was their catcher, and she graduated this year. Was a member of the first Duke softball team to go to Oklahoma City and play in the Women's College World Series. We talked to her about that, about her journey, about a lot of that fun stuff, and don't miss it in a little bit. Second half of the show, Kelly Torres from Duke, and now a professional softball player with the Texas Monarchs. You don't want to miss it. It's coming up soon. But first, we have to recap baseball. We have Class B baseball still going on, and we are right in the midst of the playoffs. We are at the championship level for 16U. I'm going to pull up the Class B website here for you so you can have it full screen and see what we see. But the Class B 16U playoffs is in the championship, and we're going to go back to Saturday first since we have the whole weekend to recap and talk about the semifinals, how we got to where we are. We start with the Astro Falcons. They clinched their series with the Prospects in Game 2 on Saturday to go to the championship. They won 9-3 in this game. Falcons down 2-0 after 2, score 2 in the third, and get the lead right back on them with the Prospects answering with 1 in the bottom. Tie it back up in the fourth, and then after the fourth inning, pretty much all Astro Falcons. They score 1 in the fifth, 5 in the sixth, and they win 9-3 against the Prospects. The big hitters for the Astro Falcons, you had multiple ones. You definitely did. 2 RBI day from Rowan Urbach, who went 4 for 4. A 2 RBI day from Taco Veraco, who went 1 for 3, with 2 runs scored, 2 walks, and 2 RBI. And then you also had a pair of RBI from Gavin Hiscox, who went 3 for 4 with 2 runs scored. He had an RBI on a hitless day, but a walk for Ben Otis as well for the Astro Falcons. And then when you look at their pitching, a rocky start, but that the last 5 innings of this game, I should say the last 4 innings of this game, scoreless baseball from Carson Clace, who goes 7 innings, gave up 9 hits, 2 earned runs, and didn't strike out anybody. So really a contact pitcher, trusted his defense, did his job. And like I said, the last 4 innings of this game, all shutdown baseball. He only gave up 9 hits, and the prospects had 4 errors to help out the Falcons a little bit. So the Astro Falcons, that's how they earned their way into the championship series. How did their opponent get there? How did the Avalanche get there? They dropped the first game of Saturday to the 3B Barons 11-1. The Barons really came out after losing game 1 with a vengeance on Saturday morning. And they scored 2 in the first, 3 in the second, 1 in the third, 5 in the fourth. I mean, it was just a consistent onslaught for the Barons. And those 5 runs in the fourth were enough to give them a run rule victory after 5, 11-1, the final score. We look at some of the big hitters in this game for the Barons. The RBI really spread out. You see how many different players knocked in runs. They had 2 of them from Colton Carlson, who went 2 for 3 on the day. They also had 2 RBIs from Tristan Blum, who went 3 for 3 with 3 runs scored and 2 RBI. Then you have RBIs spread out a lot of different people. Christian Antarok had 1. Derek Freeman had 1. You had an RBI from Rory Pisher. You had an RBI from Dante Telliani on a 2 for 2 perfect day at the plate. RBI for Bowden Hilliard, 1 for 3 day for him. So the RBI is from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different hitters in that 3B Barons lineup, and their pitching was just as good, as Tristan Blum only gave up 1 run on 5 hits in 5 innings, struck out 7, walked none, stayed away completely from free bases. And the Barons did have 3 errors, so they needed all those strikeouts and none of those walks because they already gave up 3 free bases on the defensive side. So the Avalanche had to bounce back from that. They didn't get much time to do it. Later on that day, game 3, the deciding game 3, and it went to the Avalanche. They were able to come back and get the win. 8-5, your final score in this one. Barons took a 2-1 lead after 2. A scoreless third led to a tie game in the fourth as the Avalanche scored in the bottom half. Barons took back the lead for a really quick minute in the top of the 5th, but then 3 runs in both the 5th and 6th innings were enough to hold off a rally. 2 runs in the top of the 7th for the Barons, but not enough. 8-5, Avalanche get the win. They advanced to the championship series. 8 runs on 10 hits, no errors for the Avalanche. 5 runs on 11 hits, 2 errors for the Barons. How did the Avalanche offense bounce back from only scoring 1 run in game 2? Well, they played really well. You look at the RBIs, they had 3 of them from Chase Mitchelltree, who went 2 for 4 on the day. You also had an RBI from Henry Riggs DeSantis, RBI from Lane Ryder, as well as an RBI from Jaden Amos, and then an RBI on a 1-for-1 day for Dom Miller. He had a walk and a run scored as well. Last but not least, an RBI from Will Beckert, who went 2 for 4 on the day for the Avalanche. Their pitching got the win from Amos. He went 6 1/3, did give up 10 runs and 5 hits, but also struck out 5 and stayed away from the walks with just 1 given up. 2 RBI day on Mr. Adderrock, who had a good game 2 as well. He went 1 for 2 with 2 RBI for the Barons. They also had an RBI on a 3 for 3 perfect day from Derek Freeman. 2 for 4 and an RBI went Ben Yeckel, and then an RBI from Rory Pisher. So guys that had good days in game 2 for the Barons continue to have good days. Just not enough offense to take away the Avalanche. And that big That big fifth inning was the difference. 3 runs there. It was a tie game before that, 3-3. They go up 6-3, and then go up. I'm sorry, it was actually not a tie game. Barons took the lead before that, I should say, and then 3 more in the fifth and the sixth. 6 total runs in 2 innings. Nail in the coffin for the Barons, and the win for the Avalanche got them into Sunday. So let's go look at Sunday's games, how they went. Astro Falcons versus the Avalanche Championship Series. The first 2 games were on Sunday. Astro Falcons come out and get a big scoring victory in game 1, 20-11. A lot of offense in this one. Too much to go over in their entirety. Leaving the box scores there so you can see them. Some of the big days: 4 RBIs from Bryson Zerwas on a 3-for-5 day. How about that? Have yourself a day in the championship. Game 1 setting the tone. And then 4 RBI as well from Ben Otis, who went 2-for-4 with 3 runs scored. Then you had RBI scattered around the rest of the lineup. In fact, only one hitter had no RBIs, and everyone that hit except for one got a hit. And the one that didn't get a hit also walked 3 times, had an RBI, and scored a run. So even if they weren't getting hits, the Astro Falcons were doing damage. Pitching-wise, not the greatest day for the Astro Falcons, but it didn't matter when you score 20 runs. Avalanche's offense had a good day for most times. Hunter Jones with 4 RBI, 2 RBIs apiece from Lane Ryder and Henry Biggs DeSantis. That's a combined 8 RBI between 3 different hitters. You had Beckert with an RBI, 1-for-3 with a run scored, and then a 1-for-3 day with a run scored and a walk for Chase Mitchelltree, who also got an RBI. But they had to play game 2 on the same day, so the 2 teams regathered themselves, came back in a little bit for game 2, and it was all Astro Falcons. This time, their pitching came with some intensity after giving up 11 runs in game 1, only giving up 2 in game 2. 13-2 your final score. Another big day for the offense. 3 RBI for Ben Otis. That means he had a combined 7 RBI in 2 games played in the championship. He went 1-for-2 with a run scored. Then you had RBI scattered throughout the rest of the order. Taco Veraco had 1. You had an RBI from Logan Patelis, RBI from Bryson Zerwas. But a lot of those RBIs came without a hit, which is good for situational hitting. Fans of situational hitting, doing your job, getting the run in when you have to. Will Petty got the win. He went 5 innings on the mound, gave up just 3 hits, 2 earned runs, struck out 1 in the 5-inning run rule victory for the Falcons. 13-2, the final score. That sets up the last game of the series, or what could be the last game of the series. The Avalanche down to their last chance, backs against the wall tonight. It's all set for the Astro Falcons and Avalanche to try to decide a winner in the championship. Game 3 on scene 1 at 8 o'clock under the lights as the Astro Falcons go for the sweep, and the Avalanche look to force this into another day for the championship series in 16U. Let's go over to 18U. Their championship not set yet. 3B Barons have gotten there over the weekend. Let's go back to Saturday, but they're still waiting for an opponent. On Saturday, the 3B Barons got the 4-2 win in game 1 of the semifinal series with Creekside. Astro Falcons got the 12-6 win over Athletics. Let's look at the Barons game first and what went down in game 1 of the semifinals in 18U. Barons, they were down 1-0, 2-0 after 3, but 4 runs in the 5th sealed the fate of Creekside. Just 1 crooked inning really did it in. The Barons offense for you got 2 RBI on the day from Colby McGuire, and then Brady McGuire had an RBI on the day. He went 1-for-2. So did Colby. So those 2 with great days, 3 RBIs combined for both of them. They were only 3 RBI on the day for the Barons. Runs were scored by Tommy Caroli, Nate Thomas, Luke Anderson, and Wes Corville. The pitching for the Barons went to Zyler Friedman. He went 5 innings, gave up just 2 earned runs on 4 hits, struck out 8, walked 1. Joey Campoli came in relief. She went 2 innings of no-hit baseball and struck out 2. Actually, perfect baseball because he didn't have a walk either. So Campoli with a good outing in relief. 4-2, the Barons get the win in Game 1 over Creekside. Let's go check out Game 1 of the Astro and Athletics series. 12-6, Astro gets the win in this one. And they had the offense just going. You look at the breakdown of the innings. The only one they didn't score was the 7th, and they didn't have to bat in that inning. So a big day at the plate for the Falcons. 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the third, 1 in the fourth, 5 in the fifth, and 2 in the sixth. 12-6 winners over Athletics. 6 runs is pretty good against this Astro Falcons pitching staff that is known for being shut down this year, but unfortunately for the Athletics, the Falcons offense came to back them up. 2 RBI from Brady Alexander, 3 RBI from Jay Rona. Excuse me. He also had 2 RBI from Maddox Tarquino and 2 RBI from Alex Venezia. Venezia was perfect at the plate, 2 for 2 with a walk and a run scored. Tarquino was 2 for 4 with a run scored as well. And Brady Alexander 2 for 4 with 2 runs scored for the Astro Falcons. You look at Athletics, like I said, their offense actually put up a pretty good day when you're considering who they're playing. 2 RBI from Paul Gubba. What a name. I love it. We've been covering him in Class B baseball for a while. 2 for 3 with a run scored. They also had 2 RBI from Anthony Treveri and a run scored. Logan Cipher went 2 for 3 with a walk and a run scored as well. And then Evan Tice 1 for 1 with a walk, a run scored, and an RBI. He also had 2 RBI. No, that was it. That's all the RBI. Didn't miss anybody on that day. You go down to their pitching, and you just see the numbers real quick. 10 out of the 12 runs were earned. The loss went to Dom Cubelis, who gave up 6 of the earned runs on 9 hits, struck out 3. So that takes us to Sunday in 18U, where 1 ticket was punched for the championship series, and it was the 3B Barons taking care of Creekside, 12-1. The final score there. And it was 1 run in the first, 4 runs in the second, 5 runs in the fourth, 2 in the fifth. That was enough for the run rule, 12-1 after 5. Barons offense struggled in Game 1, did not struggle in Game 2 at all. You had 3 RBIs from Aiden Leindecker. Once again, another name that we've been saying a lot in Class B baseball over the years, so no surprise. He came up big in the postseason. He went 2 for 3 with a walk and 2 runs scored. He had 2 RBI from Callan Durbin, who went 2 for 3 with a run scored. He had 3 RBI as well from Brady McGuire, 1 RBI from Nick Thomas, 1 RBI from Hunter Triano on the day for the Barons. And the big thing about them was also their pitching. They were lights out. 4 innings from Nathan Craig. He gave up no earned runs on 3 hits, struck out 5, didn't walk anybody either. So that's the Barons' path to a championship. They're in the series, but their opponent, they have to wait one more day because the Athletics turned around and forced a Game 3 against the Astro Falcons, 11-6. They get the win in Game 2, and it was an offensive show from the start. 4 runs for the Falcons, 3 runs for the Athletics in the first. But the big inning for the Athletics was the fourth. After scoreless for 2 innings in a row, Astro Falcons took a 6-3 lead, but then 6 runs in the bottom of the fourth for Athletics really just took the sails out of the Astro Falcons. Athletics added 1 more in the 5th and 6th innings and get the 11-6 victory. Big days at the plate for Athletics. They went to Anthony Treveri, who went 2 for 4 with 4 RBI. You also had 2 RBI from Logan Cipher, who went 1 for 4, and an RBI from Evan Tice, who went 1 for 2 with a walk. 3 RBI from CJ Frasco. He went 3 for 3 on the day. You can see the Falcons offense right there. They had 2 RBI from Brady Alexander, a pair of RBIs from Venezia, who had a big game 1, and then 1 RBI at the bottom on a 2 for 3 day from Michael Gunn Jr. Pitching was good enough from Connor Brogan. He went 5 innings, gave up 5 earned runs, struck out 4 on 6 hits, and that was, like I said, good enough to get past the Astro Falcons in Game 2 and force a Game 3. So the Barons have to wait one more day. They're going to be off tonight as Game 3 of the semifinals in 18U goes into Scene 1 at 5:30. Astro Falcons versus Athletics. Winner goes to the championship against the 1 seed Barons. And that series will start on Tuesday for 18U. So very exciting times as we dive deeper into the postseason in Class B baseball. Once again, all these games can be seen at ysnlive.com /live, and they'll be broadcasted by Matt Marr tonight. Both the 16U Championship Series game at 8 and the 16U semifinal Game 3 winner take all on Scene 1 at 5:30. Both games will be Matt Marr on the call. Can't wait. Make sure to go to ysnlive.com /live to check it out. We're going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we have the first segment of Living the Dream, and we'll feature an interview with Kelly Torres from Texas Monarchs Professional Softball. That's coming up when we come back on Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.
21 News delivers the news as it happens, using the latest technology from where it happens.
Live here outside the Mahoney County.
On air, online,
Wednesday afternoon weather update.
Very dangerous.
and on the 21 News social media platforms.
From on the road right now.
21 News, the Valley's only locally owned source for trusted news since 1953.
Craftsmanship to us is 60 years of pride and dedication.
Passed down from generation to generation.
The hardwood floors that your kids take their first steps on.
The solid wood doors you quietly close at night.
The things we create day in and day out are the products that end up turning your house into a home.
At Baird Brothers Fine Hardwoods, uncompromising quality and craftsmanship built our business.
And it will keep us moving forward for generations to come.
Going the extra mile at Greenwood Chevrolet means we want to take care of the community that takes care of us too.
And we have to work together always. And that's how you stay in business for 40 years.
You know, I love being a helper because when I help somebody, it makes me feel good.
It means a lot that I can make a difference in others' lives.
So I will do everything I can and just being there for them every step of the way.
I want them to know within the first 5 minutes that they could depend on me. That's what going the extra mile means, only at Greenwood Chevrolet.
Before the lights come on, before the workday begins, before a long day is ended, or it's time to have fun, it all starts with the people at Joe Dickey Electric. From replacing a light fixture in your home to building a substation for your business, no job is too big or too small. The people of Joe Dickey Electric power them all. Joe Dickey Electric, over 60 years of powering the Mahoning Valley.
And welcome back to Running Point on ysnlive.com, brought to you by our good friends over at Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown. You can see them in the top right-hand corner right there. They go the extra mile for you so you don't have to. And we try to do the same here on this show every single day. We're going to do that with our new segment that's going to be running throughout the rest of the summer. It's a softball segment, like I said at the top of the show. We're calling it Living the Dream. And this is going to be a segment where we bring on players that have kind of made their dreams a reality in softball. They've gotten to the big programs. They've gotten to the big stage. They've gotten the results. They've gotten the accolades. They've gotten to where they want to be. And the purpose of bringing them on is so they can share their story, share their lessons that they've learned along the way, things that have taught them how to be where they are, so that the players who are dreaming right now in the YSN family, and we have a ton of softball talent in Northeast Ohio right now, the players that are there dreaming of what it's going to be like, they can take some notes. They can say, hey, this is what this player experienced, and maybe I'm experiencing the same thing, and I can learn from it. I can grow from it. And what a great time to do it. So professional softball player, former Duke softball player, and someone that played in the biggest stage that you can in softball at the College World Series this year. Kelly Torres is our first guest. We're starting off strong, and one of the best catchers in the country, according to Softball America this year, was ranked in the top 10 as a Duke University catcher. A great conversation with her about her journey, what led her to Duke, and what kind of things she did to set the tone and set the standard for Duke softball that only took 7 years as a program. Started 7 years ago, so it took 7 years as a program to get to the College World Series. And Kelly Torres is a big reason why. So are the rest of her senior teammates that came in during the COVID year and really just kind of got this Duke team where they wanted to go. First ACC championship, then the first regional, then the first super regional, then hosting the first super regional, and then finally breaking the door down this year to getting to the WCWS in Oklahoma City, and then continuing her softball career, raising the bar again and trying to set the standard again for professional softball in the Texas Monarchs. This is a great conversation. Can't wait for you guys to hear it. Thank you, Kelly Torres, for your time. I appreciate it so much, and I know so do the rest of the people in our softball community here at YSN. So here it is, Living the Dream, segment number 1, Kelly Torres. I hope you enjoy it. Anthony Hartwig here with a very special edition of what we're calling the summer segment of Living the Dream. And we're joined by Duke softball alum and now professional softball player for the Texas Monarchs, Kelly Torres. Kelly, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You've been able to do all these wonderful things, but before we talk about that and where you are now, I want to go back into your memory bank and talk about the start of your journey, picking up softball and some of your earliest memories of the sport and some of the things that really made you fall in love with it.
Yeah. Well, I grew up with 3 older brothers and they all played baseball. So I was always at the ballpark and always wanting to be like them. And yeah, that's how I got into softball. I started playing softball and I never looked back. I always just wanted to outperform my brothers, honestly. And it got me here.
You grew up in a baseball family, and I'm sure you had to convert some of them to the softball side of things. What was that like, because there are some differences there. Everyone thinks it's exactly the same. But once you dive into softball, it's not the same as baseball. So what was that like transitioning your family into the softball side of things?
Yeah, I'm also the princess, I'm the only girl. I'm the youngest of the family. So none of my brothers went and played college ball. And so everyone was just like, Kelly's the athlete of the family. And, they had no problem being my biggest supporters, my number 1 fans. They were at every travel ball tournament, and every softball family knows. I mean, it's every weekend. It's a grind. It really is fall, winter, then summer ball. So they're at everything for me.
Athlete of the family, that's a lot of pressure to put on you too. Like, hey, you are holding up our family name. Yeah. You better not let it down. And you didn't. But when you go through all the work that you had to put in, you got to love the sport. You got to fall in love with it. When did you kind of transition from softball is fun to softball is something that I want to dive into and put a lot of work into and get myself to a big spot?
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like it had to be around 6th grade. 6th grade, I was like, okay, I've been playing for this sport since I was a child, and I'm getting into middle school. And this is when, back in the day, people were getting committed in 8th grade. So I was like, this is something I want to seriously pursue. And I have a trainer, Chris De La Rosa, out of South Florida. And I've been with him since 6th grade. We worked catching, we worked hitting, and I worked every single week, if not every single day, at the craft to get me where I'm at.
Once you make that decision, the workload gets piled up. Like, you have to really put in the time to get yourself to that level. Are you an athlete that loved putting in the extra time, or were you someone that had to kind of be pushed to do it? Because both athletes exist and both athletes get to where they need to be. Yeah. But some athletes just thrive. Like, give me all the T work, give me all the lifting. I want it. And some athletes just have to be a little bit nudged to that calling. What side of the fence were you on?
I loved it. I woke up early and I went to workouts at Bomarito, just a gym by my house before school started. Then I went to school, went to practice, and then I had like extra training after practice, like one-on-one stuff. So I was always grinding and I loved it. It was my life, you know?
As you already said, recruiting back then a little bit differently. You had to start it a lot younger than kids do nowadays. What was your recruiting story like? What were some of the things that you did to try to get yourself recruited, and what were some of the things you were looking for? And then obviously you hit Duke. So what were some of the things that Duke had that made you feel like home?
Well, Duke has been my dream school even before. They had a softball team. My mom is very big into academics, and so her dream school was Duke, and her parents didn't let her go away for college, so she went to Miami. So at a young age, all I heard was Duke, Duke, Duke. And when they finally said they had a softball program, I was at the very first Duke softball camp as an 8th grader. And fun fact, I was the first one there. And I helped coach set up the bow net. So I was helping setting up the camp.
What kind of moment was it when you realized that Duke had a softball program or built a softball program and it was already your dream school? I mean, was that one of those, okay, it's meant to be kind of deals?
Yeah, it really was. So I remember vividly my coach in 12U, we had like homework to do every week. And so our homework was to write a list of our top colleges. And then the next week we'd write emails to them. And so my top colleges were Miami, Vanderbilt, Duke, all these schools that didn't have a softball program. And everyone was making fun of me at practice. They're like, Kelly, how do you not know? None of these schools have a program. And then Duke, 2 years later or a year later, announced that they were having a softball school. So it was like a no-brainer for me that was where I was going to want to go.
That's where you go back to all the people that were making fun of you and say, I knew.
Yeah.
I knew.
Yeah.
You know, so let's talk about this getting on campus and, you know, doing your official visits and meeting the coaching staff and it becoming more less of a dream and more of a reality that Duke in the softball program specifically was where you wanted to be.
Yeah. Well, I put the work in, you know, I went to camps, I emailed, they came to watch me. And so when they offered me a visit, I went on and it was heaven. You know, it's a beautiful campus. Everyone there is like, you know, committed to excellence. Either you're an athlete or you're in the classroom, like everyone there wants to do great things and it's who you surround yourself with and that's who you become. So, I mean, it was a no-brainer. Once coach offered me, I was like, yes, 100% I'm in. And I never looked back. I never doubted my decision once.
When you're going through all that, you're also going through the early ages of your softball career, your high school career, all that fun stuff. What was it like to try to balance, you know, trying to get your dreams taken care of and also being a kid playing high school softball and trying to also live up to your community?
Yeah. Being a kid and playing softball, I mean, especially community, you say that word and it's like I come from a Cuban Colombian family and you know sport and baseball within itself has just been the pillar of everything. And so being able to go to Duke and in such a like high institution and play for them, it's been awesome. And I'm not where I'm at by myself. I have such a strong village behind me and my family and they are my biggest supporters. I get more joy to see them happy about the things I accomplished than myself accomplishing them.
What was it like for you to be able to represent them in high school softball and to be able to play for that hometown community and be a hometown hero like I'm sure that you were?
Yeah, it was, I mean, literally awesome. I wish I can go back and do it over again because I feel like in high school and when you're in the moment, you don't realize all of the love and all the support that you have. And I mean, I am just so grateful that I was brought up surrounded by all that love. But yeah, I ended up getting Female Athlete of the Year in my high school. And so I always had family and supporters just constantly coming to my games and watching me play. And when I committed, they were just like, yes, you're going on, you're doing big things. So it was awesome.
Up here, and I'm sure in your community too, when you make a commitment to a big school that everyone knows, all of a sudden all the lights turn on and everyone kind of wants to know everything about you and everyone wants to, you know, do interviews with you and you get the newspaper articles, all that fun stuff. What was that like once you committed to Duke and you got the attention of not even just your high school community, but everyone in the surrounding communities in the region? They wanted to know what this softball player that's going on to do big things was all about.
Yeah, I mean, that was probably my first moments with the press and like with writers. And obviously, when you get to Duke, there's interviews almost after every game and there's reporters everywhere. So when I first committed, that was probably the first time I had encounters with that. And I love to share my story. I kind of felt seen. You feel heard. You put so much hours in and the early mornings and the late nights. And now when your work is finally being paid off and people now see the fruits to your labor, it's a pretty cool thing to be recognized for that.
As a teenager, did it ever add pressure to you to try to live up to those people giving you attention, or were you kind of just focusing on your own thing and not letting that kind of pressure get into your mindset?
I think in high school things came easy to me. I think I didn't run into that problem until like halfway through my college career is when things just became too much and kind of piled on me, as I think normal college kids go through. But in high school, I mean, I loved it. I was in APs and I was able to juggle school and athletics and things like that. Just kind of came easy.
When you were committed and still trying to accomplish so much in high school, how did you stay motivated when you already knew that your college career was going to happen and you had that locked down and you knew you didn't have to impress coaches anymore? What drove you after you were committed to Duke to still be excellent in high school?
Yeah. Well, I didn't want to just go to Duke to go to Duke. I wanted to go to Duke and start at Duke. So I think that drove me, is like, I didn't want to just be a freshman on the team. I wanted to play. And yeah, I mean, I got to where I was working hard. So once you get there, the working hard part doesn't just stop. If anything, it heightens and you got to start, putting yourself into gear and to get to where you want to go. Because once you reach that step, now there's a new goal to reach.
In this high profile sports world, no one talks about the sacrifices you have to give up to get there, like the things that you have to give up to put in the work to get there. What kind of things do you think you sacrificed or you kind of put aside, especially at that time of your life, to get yourself to where you wanted to go?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of social events. To be an athlete, you're not going to always go to the parties or the fun vacays that your friends are doing in school. You have requirements and things that you need to do to meet your goals. And a lot of I feel like people don't talk about the ACT and the SAT. I put in a lot of work into getting a high score in order to get to Duke. And so that also took a lot of work. It's not just the athletic training, but you need to put in the hours of studying. And so, yeah, there's just moments, I remember missing the football state finals and our high school team made it to the state championship and I wasn't able to go with my friends. And there's memories like that you miss, but it doesn't even compare to the memories you make if you put in the hard work and you stay disciplined.
So I'm sure signing day for you was really special because you said Duke was somewhere you wanted to go for a long time. So talk about that day when you signed it on the dotted line. You weren't committed anymore. You were signed, and it was a reality that you were going to Duke.
Yeah. Signing day was awesome. I was the only softball player, I think, at that time signing. There's a lot of baseball players. My high school is a pretty big sports school, so it was cool to see. Well, honestly, it's really cool now to look back at that signing day picture and see where everyone is now. But my friends went to Vanderbilt, and so there was other big schools, being signed, and it was honestly a big party. My parents, my dad, he was crying. If I go back and look at photos, like all of the photos, he's like looking down and hiding his face because, you finally did it. You signed the seal and you accomplished your first big goal of life. So it was an awesome day.
And then as soon as you do that, the reality sets in that, okay, it's the next rung in the ladder. It's now I'm a D1 athlete. What was your welcome to D1 softball moment? The thing that kind of the culture shock of, okay, now things are a little bit more serious.
When you go to college, at least for Duke, there's a run test. And I think that was my first, this is some real deal, crap going on over here. And you train for it. In the summers, I was training really hard. So what our run test is, it's 18 gassers there and back. And then there's an 18-second group and a 19-second group. And you have to make it in that time. and then you get a minute rest in between each one, and you have to make 16 out of the 18 gassers. You get 18 tries, and you have to make 16 of them. And so around like rep 8, it really just becomes mental and not physical anymore, because if you can do 8 gassers, you can do the whole thing, but it's mentally draining. Your body's fatigued, but you still have to get on that line, and you have to run, and you have to make it in a certain amount of time. So I think coming in, that was my first real experience where I'm like, this isn't a joke. This is real. And you push through and you get through it, and you do that 3 more times each year. And yeah, you learn to love it.
You used mentality a lot in that answer. What was your how did you get through the mental hurdles of transitioning to now softball is like a job? Like you have to put a lot more time dedication to be a college softball player. How did you handle that transition going into Duke?
Yeah. I think I had a special case, at least my year, the grads of 2024. We came in at COVID. And so such a weird time. I think it was a nice way to slowly prepare into college. You weren't just thrown into a bunch of classes. Like we had classes, but they were online. Scheduling was probably a bit easier. And we weren't missing out on all the social events, because there literally was no social events. And so we hung out just with the team in our little bubble, and it was a nice, easy way into college. Classes were online. Practice was all you really had to do. And yeah, I think it really hit me sophomore year.
How close do you think COVID year, and like you said, being in the bubble with your team and only your team, make, especially the class of 24 at Duke, how close did that make you guys?
Oh my God, extremely close. That year was so fun. I'm sorry. That year was so fun. So that's the year we won the ACC championship for the first time in program history. And I don't think it's, that just happened by coincidence. We worked extremely hard, and we were extremely close. And so that, it takes a lot more than just talent to win an ACC championship. It takes gelling. It takes the team really working together and being on the same page. And that group was very special. I mean, we did things that no one thought we could do, and we really set a standard for the future of Duke.
Talk about the results being harder to come by in college and how you dealt with that. Because in high school, a lot of these girls that are going to go off to big colleges, they might be hitting 600 in high school because there's pitchers that just can't pitch on their level. And then you go into college, you're a small fish in a big pond all of a sudden. How did you initially handle the reality that the results might not come as easily in college anymore?
Yeah. Good thing about being a freshman is there's no video or stats on you. So they don't really know how to throw you, and that's awesome. So you kind of go in just being able to play loose and free, but it also comes with the price of you've never seen high-level players before. You're 18 and you're playing with girls who are 23 years old and who have been playing for a bit in this experience and on the stage. And I think it feels nice and it feels good to know that there's no stats on you and you can go out there and just play free. No one really knows what to do with you yet, but you have to remind yourself that these girls have been, playing for a while. So not let that get to you. Just stay within yourselves. And it's the same game. That's what I tell myself all the time is the ball doesn't change. The bases don't move further. It's the same game that I've been playing since I was 8 years old.
And we're catching you at the end of your Duke softball career now as a professional. But when you look back on the 4 years at Duke, what are some things that you're like the most proud of that you personally were able to do as a Blue Devil?
Yeah, I'm most proud of building a standard. Duke is a very, very young program. And when I committed in Team 2, they were setting a standard and they're putting in hard work. And they weren't seeing the fruits of their labor. Like I was saying earlier, they weren't seeing the results, but they were putting in the work. And when I came in Team 4 is kind of when the switch flipped and we won our first ACCs. We went to regionals for the first time. Then the next year after that, my sophomore year, we made it to supers for the first time. And the year after that, we hosted supers for the first time. So each year we were there, we were getting further and further. And then my senior year, we ended in OKC. And I mean, we did things that programs don't do in 50 years, and we did it in 7 years. And that's what I'm most proud of, is just being able to make a standard at Duke. And although we're young, it doesn't, don't shun us out, because not only are we a basketball school, we're a softball school now.
Softball school for days. When you think about catching, because you're one of the best catchers in the country, ranked number 10, I think, by Softball America. Catchers are different. They're built different. There's a different mentality. I've talked to a lot of catchers. It takes a special brand of person to go back there and be a backstop. When did you kind of click that catcher's mentality? When did you fall in love with that position?
Oh, I fell in love at such an early age. I'm a short kid. I always have been, and I don't have the biggest bat, and it's kind of strange because usually catchers are the big bats with, a lot of muscle, and they're big back there. And so I really loved owning that I am a small, mighty catcher, and I kind of let that fuel me for the rest of the career. I mean, anyone who talks to me, I love defense. That's my bread and butter. I love the art of framing and talking to the umpire. You have to be suave with your words, and like there's an art behind it that people who don't really know the sport would understand. And I pride myself on that. I pride myself on just being a defensive player, and the pitchers who have been on my team know how much I love it and take pride in it. And I'm sure they love it on their ends, because I'm working my tail off for them, and we become a great battery. Every team that I've been on always has a great battery.
When you think of your time at Duke, what's one thing that you wish you knew when you were going in that you learned along the way, that you wish you knew before you started?
Yeah. Something I wish I knew. I feel like everything happens for a reason. I think I wouldn't change anything about my career path, but if I was to do it again, I wish I knew what I wanted to do with my life, like outside of softball and in school, because then I could have started internships and classes and academics a little earlier. In the beginning, I was just taking whatever classes sounded cool and fun, but it definitely would have helped me a little bit with, time scheduling if I knew what I wanted to do. But again, that comes with growth, and I still don't even know if what I want to do is correct. So it's everyone's always growing all the time. I really wouldn't change a thing.
I mean, I can't let you go without asking about OKC and being able to play there and what that experience. That is something that every softball player dreams of. They want to go to OKC and play in that atmosphere, play in that moment. What was that like for you?
It was awesome. I mean, that's literally the dream when you start playing as an 8-year-old, is to make it to the biggest stage. And to see the amount of people that come out to softball is just crazy. I've never played in a crowd like that before. And to know you made it, to know that you were in the World Series and finished your career there and were able to be a leader that brought your team there, it speaks volume. I mean, it's a testament to all the people and all the Duke teams that came before us. Team 4, 5, 6, all the teams that I was on before. We worked for that moment. And to get there was just a dream come true. I mean, I was like a kid in a candy shop. Every time I looked up, I was in awe that I was in that moment.
How did you focus in after all that? Like, you don't get caught in the lights, as they like to say.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't make the moment any bigger than it is. I said earlier that it's the same game, same bases, same ball, and that's all I tell myself. And, God brought me to that moment, and I was just like, why not play the best? Why not just let it all out there? You made it. So, I mean, I think I didn't let the moment get too big, because when you make it to the Women's College World Series, you obviously don't want to just make it and not do anything with it. You want to make it and play your best and see how far you can go in the World Series. So I went up there and I was just like, just do you. Nothing changes. The game doesn't change.
Here you are, not done playing. You continue your career in the WPF for the Monarchs. What went into just deciding that, hey, I want to keep going. I want to keep playing. I want to play this game as long as I can?
Yeah. Softball is really the only sport that doesn't have a big professional league. And I think it's cool that now people are like, I want to keep playing, and it's become normalized. I think obviously it can grow so much more. I mean, I'm excited for the day that there's going to be one league, and it can kind of be like a feed in like the MLB, and maybe there's 8 teams and we combine all these leagues together. But the fact that we're starting something and there's something happening and we're in the beginning of it, it's kind of cool. So I'm excited to see where this can go. And I know just more softball players are going to want to go pro as more people join in.
What's it like being a part of a group of players that's trying to, like you said, build the foundation for professional softball and give more and more players the avenue after college? What's that like trying to be the foundation builders and trying to just do everything you can to grow the game at that level?
Yeah, that's something that intrigued me about Duke, is that we were going to make the standard and the foundation for years to come, since it was a new program. And when this happened, I was like, hell yeah. Like, it was such an awesome career at Duke, and why not do that in the pro level and be able to create a team that, I mean, the Texas Monarchs, we're a stacked team. We're learning how to play together. We've only played 3 weeks together, but once we find our rhythm and find the pieces and find how we work and who we identify as, we're going to be an awesome team. So it's cool to be able to set the foundation, and I hope things start changing in the right directions, and that, you know, we all start getting on the same page that college or softball is and can make a lot of money in the professional level.
Who were some of the players in the Monarchs roster that were on your radar, you hadn't had a chance to play with, and when you saw it, you were like, oh, I am so excited to be able to share a field with this person?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like Jada Kearney is one that comes to mind. I just interviewed her. I also have a podcast, so if people want to go listen, it's Softball Speakeasy. But Jada Kearney played at Georgia, and I mean, a big bat. He just, I don't know if people watched the SEC tournament, but she had an insane home run in the 14th inning that made them continue to play, and they ended up winning that game. But it's just I think she's one that I'm playing with that I'm just like, how were you even real in college? Devin Flaherty, I played her every single, year at FSU, and now we're teammates. So it's kind of fun how we went from, playing each other and rivals to now we're on the same team. And you don't really know who people are because you don't know them, but you kind of get a vibe from how they play. And it's fun to see who they are as humans outside of just being a player.
All right, so one of the full circle things we want to do is just ask you for advice that you'd give to players now that are either preparing this year to go on to college campus, or maybe they're going to college campus in the next couple of years, and they're locked in, they're going to be a college softball player. What are some of the things that they can do to prepare themselves for, not having that culture shock of stepping onto a college campus and realizing, this is not high school softball anymore?
Yeah, I would say I would say to continue to make goals. I think when you make it to college and you're like, oh, I did it, and you kind of become satisfied, that's not what drove you to work hard. I mean, when you were working hard to get to where you wanted to be, you had goals, you had plans. And so once you make new goals, make bigger plans, never stop dreaming, because if you stop dreaming, you stop working hard. And so that's what kind of always pumped me is, okay, I have a new goal. I have a new accomplishment I want to make. And so continuing to have that and write it in your journal, keep track of these things and become more in tune with yourself. And by doing those things, you're never going to, want to stop working, and you're going to just reach potentials that you never even thought you could.
All right, we do this with every athlete we interview, no matter what level they're playing at, because we know there are so many people that got them to where they are and that have helped them along the way. I want you to take the spotlight off yourself for a minute, shine it on the people in your life that you wouldn't be where you are without. We're not the Oscars. We're not going to cut you off. So as many shout outs and thanks as you want to give.
So many. My village runs so deep, but I mean, my parents first and foremost. They have put in so many hours, so much time, so much money, so much dedication into playing softball year round, and they put their lives on pause so I can thrive and do what I love. My family, outside of my parents, my cousins, aunts, uncles, grandparents, they were all there sharing their love with me. My brothers, Kyle, the one who's closest to me, is probably my biggest fan, always watches every single one of my games, gives me feedback. Even if I don't want feedback, he's there to give it to me. All the coaches that I've played under, I mean, my 8U softball coach still comes to my games, and I had a bad coach. I mean, all of them. Shout out Coach Pam, shout out Coach Michelle Nevling. She also played pro ball back in the day, so it's cool now that I'm playing pro ball. So Chris De La Rosa, he's my trainer since I was a kid. My high school coach, Marty Cooper, he really knew how to run a defense, and I credit a lot to how I am vocally as a catcher, because he made me as a sixth grader who wanted to be on varsity learn how to yell at all these older girls, seniors on the team, and tell them where to go. And I needed to be yelling every play. So I think I became a very vocal catcher from him. Yeah, I mean, I want to shout out just all the players I've ever played with, because they built me up as I built them up. Yeah, and I think that's where I would end, but just so much love to everyone who's helped me in my career and all my friends and family, and I just couldn't be here without them.
Kelly, we want to thank you so much for the time and letting us share your story for all the softball players in our community. I know they're going to love hearing from you. We wish you the best of luck in the rest of the WPF season and whatever you decide to keep doing in your future. We know you're going to do great things. Thank you again for the time, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Kelly Torres, Duke softball alum, current member of the Texas Monarchs and the WPF professional softball player. Episode 1 of Living the Dream, man. Kelly Torres is living the dream out there, and she gave a lot of great nuggets for softball players in our area that are trying to live the dream and are trying to get to the places where she's gotten to, trying to be a professional softball player, trying to be an impact on a softball team at the college level, whether it be Power 5 D1 or even D3 or JUCO. There's no bad college softball players. So you're out there, you're wanting to achieve your dreams and achieve your softball excellence, go on and watch Kelly Torres do what she does and listen to that interview again and again and again and get those nuggets from her. We will continue that segment throughout the summer. So there are a lot more players and interviews to hear from throughout the rest of the summer. Can't wait to let you guys hear from a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different journeys, and a lot of different stories. So excited to have it. And that'll do it for today's episode of Running Point. I want to remind everybody that tonight on the network, Matt Moore on the call for the Class B playoffs. 16U will have the championship series. Game 1 on at 5:30, or is it game 3? Game 2. Astro Falcons Avalanche. Game 3, I'm sorry. Game 3 of Astro Falcons and Avalanche. As Astro Falcons look for the sweep, Avalanche looks to force a game 4 with a win tonight. So that'll be at 8 o'clock on ysnlive.com. Also at 5:30 on Scene 1, Matt Maher has the call for the 18U semifinal Game 3 winner-take-all between Astro Falcons and Athletics. The winner of that game will go on to the championship series in the 18U division against the 3B Barons. So tune in for all that on the network and more. ysnlive.com/live is where you can find it. I'm Anthony Hartwig. That was Running Point. Thank you so much for everyone for tuning in. Thank you to Kelly Torres for her time giving it to us on a very busy summer schedule playing in the WPF. And we will see you tomorrow from 1 to 2 for another episode of Running Point, brought to you by Greenwood Chevrolet in Austintown.